Oh, I can already hear the dislike button being clicked. Hey guys, welcome back to Pop Culture with Pat. Today we are going to be talking about the Marvels. This is going to be, for the most part, this is going to be a spoiler-free review. I will talk about the ending scene and the mid-credit scene at the very end, but I'll make sure to let you guys know, so then that way if you haven't seen the film, you can jump off. But otherwise, if you don't care, or if you have already seen it, I'm just going to talk about those couple scenes rather than making a separate video. But without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about this thing. So Carol Danvers has reclaimed her identity from the Kree and taken revenge on the Supreme Intelligence. However, unintended consequences see her shouldering the burden of a destabilized universe. When her duties send her to a wormhole linked to a Kree revolutionary, her powers become entangled with two other superheroes to form the Marvels. So I wasn't a huge fan of the first Captain Marvel movie. Like, I liked it, I enjoyed it, I thought it was fine, but I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite MCU films of all time for sure. Now, as far as Ms. Marvel goes, I really enjoyed that series, and I loved Kamala, so I was excited to see more of her, especially on the big screen. And then I really liked Monica and WandaVision, and so I was also interested in seeing how they were going to explore that kind of broken relationship between her and Carol in a movie. But overall, I guess, up until basically this last week, just my overall excitement for the film, I wasn't really looking forward to it. Like, I was going to check it out because I go and see everything that is MCU. I've invested this much time, like, why am I going to stop now? But I wasn't super hyped to see the film. So I did kind of have lower expectations going into this. And we'll start off with things that I did actually really like. So as far as Brie Larson goes as Carol Danvers, aka Captain Marvel, I liked her character much more this time around. She just had a much more playful energy to her this time around, where for me at least, it was kind of hard to connect with that character in the original film. And I don't know if that's something, if the writers, director, if they wanted that from Brie Larson in the original movie, so that could completely not be her fault at all, or if maybe there's this time getting to come back, having been the character a couple times now, maybe she was just feeling a little bit more relaxed and that came across on the screen. I'm not sure, but I just really enjoyed that character much more this time around in this film. And as far as the chemistry goes between the three leads here, so Captain Marvel, Ms. Marvel, and Monica Rambeau, I really liked it. I thought they had a good chemistry on screen together, and I really enjoyed the banter back and forth between the characters too. And Kamala was definitely a standout for me in the film. In the comics, Kamala idolizes Captain Marvel, but in real life, Iman was a huge fan of Marvel before she joined the MCU, so she's basically getting to live her dream, and I think that carries over into her performance perfectly here. And I also really liked at one point that Kamala gets to see that being a hero isn't all it's necessarily cracked up to be, and that she actually gets to see Carol, Captain Marvel, in a different light, because sometimes you have to make choices that are tough and that you don't necessarily agree with. So I really enjoyed that aspect. I maybe wish they would have explored that a little bit more, but from what we did get to see, that was something that really worked for me. And as far as Teyonah Parris goes as Monica Rambeau, again, I thought she was really good in this film. I liked her in WandaVision, so I was excited to see her, you know, jump onto the big screen and explore that broken relationship between Monica and Carol. From what we got, I really enjoyed that aspect, and we'll kind of go more into the negatives in a second, but I wish that they would have explored that a little bit more in this film, because I felt that there was more to explore there. And overall, just as far as the energy and the vibe of the film goes, I had a fun time with this movie. There was a number of times that I was laughing throughout the film, and the audience that I had seen it with, they were laughing too. Seemed to be everyone was enjoying the movie. It's only an hour and 45 minutes. It's one of, if not the shortest MCU movies out of the whole span that we've gotten. So it goes by pretty quick, and we'll kind of get into the negatives as far as that goes in a second. But yeah, I mean, just as far as it was something that I had fun with. I didn't find myself being bored or anything like that. And alright, now we are going to get into the negatives of this film, because yes, even though overall I liked the movie, I enjoyed it, this movie has some problems with it, and we'll go ahead and jump into those now. Alright, so the villain of the film. She is super forgettable. I only remember her name, Dar-Benn, because I looked it up just prior to doing this review. Otherwise, I would have completely forgot it. She's basically just a knockoff version of Ronan the Accuser, and the way that the trailers, some of the trailers, like the second and third trailer, had kind of set it up, you had Thanos in there, And I guess slight spoiler, guys, if you guys haven't seen the film, it's not really a big like detail, but they make it almost seem like she is a follower of Thanos or something like that. And I was like, oh, that would have been pretty cool if they kind of tied her into there. But she's not. She's just basically a recycled version of Ronan the Accuser, and I like Ronan way more than this character. And I understood her motivations, why she was doing what she was doing, but again, there just wasn't really anything that stood out about her. There are two sequences in this film that I know a lot of people are just going to complain about, and I totally understand, especially the first one that I'm going to mention. So there was one instance where they end up going to this planet where literally everybody on the planet sings, and that's how they communicate. And it goes on for a decent amount of time, and I was just like, what the fuck are we doing here? Like, is this a Disney princess movie? And nothing, you know, against those films. You know, they have their, you know, in their own film, that's perfectly fine. But it just felt completely out of place here. I was like, can we just get past this and move on to the next scene? The other sequence is it involves cats, I will just say. And overall, I didn't have really an issue with that. I know some people did. A lot of people in my theater were actually cracking up, and I thought it was pretty funny. But I can totally understand if you're one of those people that thought that sequence sucked too. I totally get it. Now, for me personally, I thought that they could have taken that whole sequence where they go to that planet where everyone's singing, could have just taken that completely out of the film and used the time that they had spent there to focus on other aspects. So specifically the relationship between Monica and Carol, could have used a little bit more time there. There's another group of people that are in the film that I thought that they could have spent a little bit more time exploring that as well. So those are just a couple things that I think they could have used their time a little bit more wisely there. Now, is this on the level of Guardians of the Galaxy 3? Absolutely not. No, not even close. But is this one of the worst films of all time that I've seen quite a few people on YouTube say it is? Because I don't know, I just feel like lately it seems like it's the cool thing to hate on Marvel projects. I don't know why. It's just one of those things with YouTube. It's like if you're edgy and give these really edgy takes that you're gonna get those clicks and things like that, and I hate doing that stuff. I feel like you can think a movie is okay. You don't have to hate it or absolutely love it. You can be somewhere in the middle, but that just doesn't seem like the commonplace nowadays. It seems like you have to be on one end or other of the spectrum, and if you're not, you're just gonna get shit on by the people who feel one of those certain ways. So for me, I'm definitely more in the middle on this film. I think if you take out a couple of those things that I'd mentioned and add a couple moments, spend a little bit more time with those characters, tack on a little bit more of a runtime so this film has a little bit more time to breathe and spend with these characters, I think you would actually have a pretty solid film. As far as the score goes, I'm somewhere between like a 6.5 and a 7 for this movie. I'll just say 6.7 as far as an overall score goes. Alright guys, so I'm going to give you a fair warning. I am now going to be talking about the ending of the film and the post-credit scene, or I should say mid-credit scene. So if you haven't seen the film and you don't want to know anything about spoilers, jump off the video now. But if you have seen the film, or if you just don't care about spoilers, then without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about it. So, the end of the film, we see Kate Bishop pop up. She's coming home, and then she is greeted by Kamala Khan. Tells her, it's a play on the end credit scene from the original Iron Man film where you have Sam Jackson talking to Robert Downey Jr. I really like that. The only thing that was, I think it was just more of like a nod than anything, because otherwise there's no way that Kamala would have known the exact speech that he gave to Iron Man back then. But I think that was just more of a wink at the audience than anything. So I don't think that they were like, oh yeah, she knows exactly that conversation, or it's like a loop or a plot hole. So I thought that was funny, but I was just psyched to see Kate Bishop pop up, and now they're going to be doing what seems like they had the Champions in the comics and they have the Young Avengers, but I'm pretty sure they're just going to go the Young Avengers route, and they're probably just going to slightly modify that team. So obviously we're going to have Miss Marvel, we're going to have Kate Bishop, we're going to have Cassie Lang, sounds like it's going to be in here, and I would think we'll probably have America Chavez, where she was introduced in Multiverse of Madness. I imagine she'll probably be in here. I'm thinking Ironheart's probably going to be in here as well. it'll be seen if they end up adding, because we had Hulk's son, but it's not Hulkling from the comics. It's, I can't remember the guy's name from End of She-Hulk. So I don't know if they'll end up bringing him in. I imagine probably. And then, what's his name? Patriot from Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Again, didn't really get a lot of time with that character, so don't know if they're going to bring him into the team. And then we have Tommy and Billy from WandaVision. It sounds like we're going to be getting an older version of one of the characters in the Agatha series that's going to be coming up. So I imagine we'll see the other one coming up at some point as well. And then I think that instead of Iron Lad, they're probably just going to put Riri Williams in for that character instead. Could be wrong, and I think I got everybody in there. I could be forgetting somebody, but yeah, I was just excited to see. It's like, cool, we're going to be getting the Young Avengers, so I'm curious if they're going to end up doing a movie, if they're just going to be in, like, I imagine they'll be obviously in, like, probably Secret Wars. They're going to do some kind of, like, spin-off series or something like that. So I was really excited to see that. I know other people, when Kate Bishop popped up, I heard a couple people were like, oh, shit. So other people seem to be really excited as well. But then we have the mid-credit scenes. So this is where we end up finding out where Monica Rambeau went, because I was like, all right, we obviously got to see something where she ended up, you know, in that other universe. And so you find out that she is in the X-Men facility, and you end up seeing her mom, well, what we think initially, or what she thinks is her mom. Obviously, I was like, this is probably a different version of the character, and she's actually binary from the comics. You see the suit and everything, and so that's not actually her mom. And then you see Beast walk in talking to her, and that got a reaction out of everybody for sure. You know, finally seeing the X-Men. Technically, I know we had seen Patrick Stewart was in Multiverse of Madness, so it's not really like the first time. But he also, Kelsey Grammer mentions Patrick Stewart, or Charles, I should say. So he mentions that. So that got me really hyped. You know, we're getting closer and closer to finally having the X-Men in the MCU. Obviously, this is not going to be the team that's going to be in the MCU, but it was just cool to see that character pop up again. So, and I imagine with Deadpool 3, we're going to see a lot more of the Fox Universe X-Men characters probably popping up in there before we get the actual team that's going to be in the MCU. So, yeah, and then there is technically, if you wait to the very end of the credits, which you don't have to, there is like, I believe you hear it's like the cat, Goose, purring or making like a noise or something like that. But trust me, you don't have to say it to the end of the credits. So it's just those two scenes. Those are the important ones. But yeah, so also if you guys do mention anything about the post-credit scenes or anything, just make sure that you put a couple like dots and then put big, you know, spoilers, so that way people don't see it or don't accidentally see it. But yeah, if you do put that in your comments, just make sure that people are aware there are spoilers there. I can't wait to see some of the comments. I mean, granted, I don't think because I put out this review a little bit later than a lot of people have, it's probably going to get buried. But I can't wait to see some of the comments, because I'm sure I'm going to be called a shill and all this stuff just because I'm in the middle. I'm not saying this is like one of the best movies of all time, but I'm not saying it's one of the worst either. I'm not saying it's one of the worst either. But either way, I'm definitely curious to hear your guys' thoughts and comments down below. Do you like this film better than the original Captain Marvel movie, or do you like one better than two? I want to hear your thoughts on that too. So let me know down below in the comments. If you guys can, please give the video a thumbs up, because like I said, I can already hear the dislike button being clicked. So that would definitely be appreciated. And guys, if you guys are new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button as well as the bell button next to it. That way you get notifications for all my new videos. And as always, please make sure to check back for more Pop Culture with Pat.